let's get going. Thank you so much for coming to this month's webinar about Badgr. I'm excited to dive right in, but first, a few housekeeping things. Yes, this webinar is being recorded. It will be sent to all attendees following the webinar, and it is also uploaded to our YouTube channel, so you'll be able to find it in both places. You can also watch our previous monthly webinars on our YouTube channel if you're interested. But yeah, so I would love to engage with you as we go along. So if you have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. I will try to pay attention and answer them as we go along. But if not, if I can't get to them in the middle of the presentation, I'm happy to answer them at the end. So feel free to drop those questions in the chat. And I see you are starting to introduce yourselves in the chat. So hello, everyone. Thank you for doing that. A quick introduction of who I am. My name is Kristina. I'm the sales development representative here on the Badgr team at Concentric Sky. And just a tiny bit about me, I come to the table as a former educator and a former higher education professional. Like I mentioned, I am interested in also getting to know you, so definitely feel free to drop your questions in the chat. All right, and just give me one moment here, having a tiny bit of technical difficulties. Just take care of one thing, and I will be right back to what we're going to take care of today. Thank you for your patience. Hi, Cheryl. Hi, Lindy. Hi, Jen. Hi, Kristen. Thanks for introducing yourselves. Again, thank you for your patience as I take care of one thing really fast with my little technical difficulties here. Isn't this just the way things go with Zoom and all things technology? Isn't that just always how it goes? Okay, it seems I have seemed to fix my problem. So now we're going to continue moving on. Thank you so much for your patience. I appreciate it. All righty. So today, this is what we're going to be chatting about. Where our journey will begin with sharing Badgr's origin story, and then we will take a look at the Badgr Pro platform, and then we'll have some time to answer your questions. All right, so let's get into it because you are definitely waiting for me to do that. So first, let's take a quick second and talk about Badgr's mission and how we came to be. Badgr's philosophy is grounded in the belief that technology innovation is the key to solving the social, economic, and environmental problems that we face today. And we have used open standards to disrupt the status quo and contribute to a brighter and more equitable future for everyone. And then before I talk more about Badgr, I also wanted to quickly introduce Concentric Sky, which is the company that created Badgr. Concentric Sky has been building end-to-end software solutions for some of the world's largest and most impactful organizations since 2005. And Concentric Sky created Badgr to allow organizations to issue digital badges and micro-credentials to their learners. Badgr has been at the forefront of the digital credential space since its origination. Chosen by the MacArthur Foundation to be lead author of the Open Badges 2.0 specification by late 2015, we developed a draft version and released Badgr as an open source reference. Also, central in the development of the ecosystem at the request of Mozilla, they transitioned their Open Badges backpack to Badgr in 2019. Mozilla, MacArthur, and Badgr have since passed stewardship of the Open Badges standard to IMS Global, where it remains today. And if you're not familiar with IMS Global, I would highly recommend checking them out. Our clients here at Badgr span the globe and become long-term partners. This is just a very, very small sample of organizations that have partnered with us to offer digital badges to their learners. Over 25,000 organizations around the world in more than 160 countries are using Badgr to recognize millions of learners with digital badges for their emerging and growing skills and competencies. So although we've provided world-class solutions for some of the largest employers and universities across the globe, whether you have a classroom of, say, 30 students or a training organization with thousands of learners, you can use Badgr to deliver an exceptional digital credentialing experience for your learners. Many of you may already have Badgr accounts, so if you do, you know that getting started with Badgr is easy. If you aren't already a Badgr user, all you have to do is go to badgr.com and create your free account. It's that easy. It'll only take a second. Once you've created your account, you'll need to establish your first issuer. And your issuer is the authority that is awarding badges. So that could be your program, your organization, your department, or your classroom, depending on your use case. Then once you've created your first issuer, you can start and creating and awarding badges, the fun part. And while we're on the topic of creating badges, whether you've just started to develop your badging program or you're already knee-deep in your badging initiative, I'd like to provide you with a really quick best practices tip. So a logical first question to ask yourself is, what are you going to badge? What skills, achievements, and/or milestones are you going to recognize with a badge? I've included this slide in here as a little extra credit to give you some food for thought on things to consider as you begin to create your badging system. These are just a few questions to help you think about the what, the how, and the why of badging. What is the learner demonstrating? How is the learner demonstrating that skill? And why is that skill valuable in the context that it is earned? All right, so before we transition to the next part of your journey, I would love to learn a little bit more about you. So I'm going to queue up a really quick poll so that you can answer a question. Going to go ahead and launch this one. And the question is, what are you most interested in learning about today? Go ahead and answer that question. And then actually, we're going to do a second fun question because I want to learn a little bit more about you. Looks like interested in learning about Canvas, interested in learning about the Badgr platform and pathways, some use cases, other LMSs. Good news, we're going to learn about all of those things today. All right, so I'm going to end the poll and share the results. Here is what you all said. And then I'm actually going to do another quick question because this is also something I am curious about, is have you implemented a badging program? And our choices are not yet, but within a year, not yet, but within 6 months. Yes, we're doing a little. We have a robust program and we are ready to take our program to the next level, which it looks like someone has answered that already. That's very exciting. I'll give you a few more seconds. I think all but one has answered that. So one more second in case you want to answer it, and then we'll go ahead and end this. Okay, so as you can see, a majority of you say not yet, but within 6 months. So coming up here pretty soon. So that's exciting. A handful of you are in in different places. And that's super exciting. Thank you for sharing that with me. All right, we're going to go ahead and transition to the next part of our journey, where we can talk about how to bring your badging program to life with the powerful tools of Badgr Pro. So one feature, and I know you were interested, some of you are interested in learning about this, so here we are. One feature that gets a lot of positive attention from our Pro subscribers is Pathways. If you are already a Pro subscriber, this probably isn't a surprise to you. With Pathways, you can take individual badge awards and stack them together to map out an entire curriculum. So instead of looking at badges as standalone, a learner can follow a path and understand how their learning is linked. A pathway helps learners understand where they are in their progress towards their professional development and learning goals. And it can even point to other learning opportunities and goals that the learner may not yet have considered. With Pathways, learners can see where they have been and where they're going in their learning journey. Something else that our current clients tend to love about Pathways is that Pathways are also stackable. So you can start to create an even deeper and more meaningful and connected learning ecosystem. Okay, so after all that I've just said about Pathways, you probably love to see a few examples. I know you indicated that in your poll, and I would love to deliver. So let's look at a couple here. And I'm going to start with showing you two. The first one is from Arizona State University. And this one represents, and I think a handful of you are from ASU or somewhere in Arizona. So this is exciting. So this particular pathway represents training for faculty to prepare them to conduct courses in ASU Sync modality. The earner of the Sync Professional Learner Completion Badge is a faculty member who has completed all of the training modules and is now prepared to create and deliver a better digital learning experience for their students. That's example one. And then example two is from Georgia Virtual School, which is part of the Georgia Department of Education. And this represents a teacher's professional development journey towards the mastery of effective blending instruction. I'm actually going to do an extra credit pathway here because InstructureCon just happened this year. So anyone using Canvas or interested in Canvas may have attended InstructureCon. So if you did, this might look familiar to you. And this is a great example of how to use a pathway to engage conference attendees and encourage participation. I love this example because it's a great way to see how you can use it to make a more engaging and fun conference experience for students, for attendees. And in this case, it's super fun because at the end of a conference goers get some cool swag, and who doesn't love conference swag? So I always admire this one. And I see a question. I'd love to hear more about how the visit to booze was tracked. Yes, we can certainly talk about that at the end because that is a good question. Okay, so we just talked about organizing your digital badges into pathways, but there is something else you can do to create even more value for your learners. And that is aligning your badges with skills. This helps describe why the skill is valuable within the context it was earned. Including a skills taxonomy in badges makes it easier for a badge recipient to not only communicate that they've earned a badge from your college or organization, but also that the credential is linked to a skill employers are actively seeking, a relevant skill written into job descriptions. So to make showcasing these skills easier, we at Badgr have partnered with an organization called MZ Burning Glass. Some of you may be familiar with them, but if not, MZ is a labor market intelligence organization that has identified more than 30,000 individual skills that you can choose from to include in a badge. So whether it's the badge recipient or an interested party, anyone examining the public view of the badge can click the skill to see real-time workforce data associated with that exact skill. You can see that this leads directly to data about the demand for the skill, both in terms of job titles and the companies that are looking for this particular skill. This makes each badge immensely powerful and meaningful. And another note, additionally, you can align your badges with live job postings at Indeed.com. So all of this to say, when you bake your skills into your digital badges, you're helping your learners by allowing them to communicate more effectively about their knowledge, their achievements, and the skills they now possess because of your training program. Viewing real-time market value data as well as authentic job postings and the companies searching for people with that skill gives them an additional advantage. And like I mentioned before, I'm a former educator. So as someone who wants to see all learners reach their potential, to me, this is something that's invaluable, and it's why it's my favorite to talk about, which is why I had a lot to say about it. Okay, so if you've never created or awarded a badge yet, I encourage you to get in there, play around with it. If you're like me, like to get your hands on it, to start trying it out, which you can certainly do. And you might be surprised how much fun you can have. So when your badges are ready for distribution, there are many ways you can award them. In the free version of Badgr alone, you can award them manually, one by one. You can award them in bulk with a CSV upload. And if you are using Canvas or Blackboard as your learning management system, you can also award them automatically based on triggers set in the module requirements for Canvas and objective triggers for Blackboard. And we'll talk a little bit more about LMS integration in just a moment. With Badgr Pro, there are even more ways to issue badges. For example, QR codes and claim links really come in handy no matter how you're delivering your training or your learning, through an LMS, in-person training or conferences. And of course, they're also perfect for Zoom webinars or virtual trainings, like we're doing today, and which you'll get to experience at the end of our visit. All right, you may be asking yourself, but how do I know if any of this makes a difference at my organization or at my institution? The answer can be found in your analytics. As a Badgr Pro administrator, you'll have access to a dashboard with data about your subscription usage, as well as analytics that provide insight into the effectiveness of your program. You'll have an overview of who is issuing badges and how often, and you'll know which badges are being shared and how they're being shared, for example, to social media like Facebook, LinkedIn, so on and so forth. And you'll be easily able to export your data to a CSV file so you can continue to manipulate the data in other ways. And because, as we know, data drives decisions, so this is something that's going to be very important to you. And then to continue to monitor the health and engagement of your initiative, you'll have the tools you need for a broad organization overview, a forest view, if you will. But what is a forest without trees? That's why we also provide the tools you need to see the trees, if you will let me continue with my metaphor. Those insightful details that provide a full understanding of what is being used and how it's being used. And that's why we provide the same data from the issuer level with even more specific individual badge and learner data. As an administrator, you can also manage staff permissions, allowing you to choose how you wish to structure your organization and who can create or edit your badges, issuers, and organization. Always keeping our users at the top of mind, we've streamlined this process for you. With Badgr Pro, you'll have the opportunity to organize your programs, departments, and more into suborgs under your Badgr Pro organization umbrella. What this means is your organization will have a centralized approach while still allowing individual departments, programs, and the like to have autonomy within their own issuer. Pro users who want to create a very immersive and branded experience can also purchase our optional white label service. This allows you to showcase organizational pride by having your branding everywhere your learners interact with their badges. And then the last feature of Badgr Pro I want to tell you about today is the comprehensive learner record. This is something that I think is super exciting. The learner record gathers the learner's pathway progress and achievements and showcases them in an easily understandable view. For example, if we talk about someone who is using this very successfully is the University of North Texas. And it is being used for curricular, non-curricular, and co-curricular skills. And the learner record provides learners with the right tool needed to see exactly where they stand and what they've accomplished. What this does is conquers any information overload, which is especially helpful when learners are subscribed to multiple pathways. This learner record summarizes the pathway progress for the learner, and as a bonus, the learner record is shareable, just like badges and pathways are, badges are shareable, so is the learner record. And like I mentioned, we're going to talk briefly about learning management systems. If you may already know this, but Badgr is the native badging system of the two most prevalent learning management systems, Canvas and Blackboard, making awarding badges nearly effortless. And plus, we're also integrated into various other LMSs. And by doing this, we're able to focus on meeting instructors and learners where they are. For example, our custom development partnerships with Blackboard and Canvas allow for badging automation, leaderboards, pathways, and more. A little bit more detail, in Canvas, instructors can associate badges with the completion of modules in their course. And in Blackboard, instructors can create objectives to associate Blackboard course items with badges. You can also push badges awarded in Moodle and D2L to the Badgr backpack. And with D2L, pathways are embedded in the learner experience. So this means that appraising student progress is easy when you also export your badging data. And like I mentioned briefly, in Canvas and Blackboard, learners can view the privacy protected leaderboard and see how they compare to their classmates, thereby gamifying their experience, which makes it fun and is also very convenient. All right, we have reached nearly the end of our journey. And as you probably guessed, here at Badgr, we love digital badges. That's what we do. So that's why I would absolutely not dream of having you attend one of our webinars without the chance to receive a badge of your own. So you can do that now. And there are two ways to do this. One, by scanning the QR code here on the screen. And then if you would prefer to use a link, I'm going to drop a link in the chat that you can claim your badge that way. So you can claim your badge one or both of those ways. And then if all goes as planned, when you claim your badge, you should receive digital confetti. It's the best kind of confetti because you don't have to sweep it up afterwards. I'll give you a few more seconds to do that. Okay, so what's next? We are all different, and I'm sure each of you have unique questions for the exciting things you want to do with badging. And because everyone's different, it's not a one-size-fits-all next step. So we found that the best next step is to meet with one of our team members. We can get to know each other one-on-one, get to know you better, talk about your individual goals and timelines and your specific questions and unique problems you want to solve. The best way to do that is to contact us. So the next thing I'm going to do is drop a link to our contact us form here in the chat. There we are. And then I'm also going to put my email address in the chat. That way you can just reach out to me directly if you would prefer to do that. I am happy to help and happy to hear from you. So there is my email address there in the chat if you want to reach out to me directly. All right, so if you have questions, definitely feel free to stick around for a few moments so we can chat and I can answer them. Otherwise, I'm so glad you've joined me today in taking a look at some of the many valuable tools that Badgr Free and Badgr Pro have to offer, as well as how you can use them to take your badging program to the next level. And of course, like I mentioned, if you have questions or want to talk about anything we talked about today, just reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you and happy badging.